We good? Wittenberg is a place, and while the names may change, the stories, personalities, and experiences do not. What are HUD and I doing here? Being on the other side of our Wittenberg student experience, we now know that there is no one right path. The mission of our time together each show is to help you, our audience, know that there are many different paths to purpose, to experience, to success. Your path to Wittenberg was different. Your path after Wittenberg, as ours is, will be different too. On our journey together, we are passing the light from the stories and experiences our fellow alumni are sharing with us. Now, our guest tonight.
Yes.
Head of Talent Engagement for Chase Bank, Chris Thompson, 94 grad, double major in both speech and English. Director of Talent Acquisition for Crown Equipment, Brad Jordan, 99, majored in management, and the founder and CEO of Practical Diversity Associates, Dr. Shakeer Abdullah, 99, major in management and minor in economics. Brad, Chris, and Shaq all came to Wittenberg for football, but Wittenberg wove itself into their fabric and they into Wittenberg's. At first, Shakeer, known to most as Shaq, thought Morehouse, a historically black college and university, would be his place. But all that changed after he visited Witt, and Chris Thompson was a major reason why.
Oh, man.
While you would never know it, Shaq was shy, an introvert. Yet, the people he surrounded with himself and those that surrounded him made him become himself. The self he didn't know he could become.
Okay.
After leaving Witt, he chose the academic career path, later earning a PhD, hence the doctor, and landing AVP and VP roles at the University of Minnesota and Clayton State. He is now a published author, speaker, and lead consultant in his own firm.
All right, so Brad and Shaq met on the gridiron when their high schools, Toledo St. John's and Kent McKinley, played each other. Although they didn't know at the time, similar to Shaq, Brad didn't want a big school, and something about Witt kept drawing him back. While here, like most of us, Brad wasn't sure what he was supposed to be. The McLean Center, among many connections, helped him. He also stayed involved and kept implying himself as a management major. The hard skills from that discipline were what he thought he graduated with, but the soft skills and seeds were also planted that would grow over time, as with the realization that Wittenberg pushed him into self-awareness. So much so that he is now an expert in talent acquisition, as well, even though he forgot his book. I brought it, a published author, so let's run those numbers on Amazon and all the other links. And speaker. Wittenberg was so important to him, and he speaks so highly of it, that his daughter, right here, we had the cameras, we could pan, is here too. Now, probably one of a lot of people's favorites. How does one describe Chris Thompson? Some say a force, others say a center of gravity, as any life he comes in contact with seems to be pulled in. As a Columbus kid, he played football at Westland High. He gravitated to Wittenberg because he could play ball here, feel connected to his studies, and still be close to home. He immersed himself in everything he could. He also began to notice that he was surrounded not by familiar people, but by multi-dimensional tapestry of all walks of life. He was surrounded by a faculty that represented varied disciplines and different ways of thinking, and an administration that actually took time to notice him.
Yeah.
He ate it up. Boy, he did. But what changed his world was when he came back to campus his sophomore year to live with two unknown roommates.
That's right.
That sounds like a story there.
It might be.
All three came from different worlds, yet changed Chris's life and worldview.
Yeah.
Chris now spends his spare time in one of my favorite vacation spots, Destin, Florida,
Yes, he does.
working on a book,
Coaching leaders.
coaching leaders,
Yeah.
speaking on national stages. So there's a perception of what we're here to talk about. So there's a perception of difference that seems to pervade our world, especially now. There's a feeling that our differences actually make us different. Them did it. They are at fault. When we don't like the hand we are dealt, we often look outside of ourselves for what is wrong, and we usually find a good, logical explanation, and it's usually why, and it's them.
But our guests don't see the world that way, yet they had every opportunity to do so. Here, they found their community not by shutting others out, but by realizing that what Wittenberg offers is a stitching together of all the different layers of our society. All the different communities Wittenberg brings together offered them a better insight into themselves. Once they left Wittenberg, it wasn't a straight and narrow path to their current success. What Shaq, Chris, and Brad learned on campus about bringing people together, they still use in every facet of their lives. From here on out, we will examine the perception of difference as we find out together the deeper answers on why Witt, what happened while Chris, Brad, and Shaq were here, and how did they navigate their way to success. By the way, our Sesame Street word of the day is grace. Our time together is all about questions that you all have. After Hud and I are done with them, this is a space for you, our audience, to ask our guests any burning questions y'all have.
Anything.
Let's get to it.
Yes, let's welcome these three fine gentlemen. Yes.
Yes. Thanks for having us. Glad to be here.
Appreciate it.
Great. Shaq flew in from Atlanta.
Yep. So got in this morning. I love the opportunity to come home. Certainly consider Wittenberg my home. Spent 4 years here as an undergraduate, but then I spent 2 more years here as an admissions counselor, and that is a story that I'm going to weave back a little bit later into the guy to the left of me who helped me to get here. But this is not only home because of the time I spent here, but because of the people I met here, the family I built here, and my family who attended Wittenberg and graduated from here. I have a younger sister, Jathia, and a younger brother, Yusuf, who both graduated from Wittenberg. So this is home in many senses of the word, and so every time I have the chance to get back here, I'm doing so. And so when folks reached out and said, hey, you want to come and speak and talk at Wittenberg, I can't remember the last time I said no to that request.
I'm glad you didn't say no. So I think one of the questions that is out there that I think is super important, you two turned down
Yeah.
a full ride
Yep.
to a major university,
Yeah.
AKA Ohio State,
Yeah.
to come here.
Yeah.
Like, what the?
Was there a choice? I mean, really? I mean, and when you think about, first, thank you, Timmy.
You're welcome.
Thank you, John.
Thanks for-
It is an honor to be back home, can we say it that way?
Absolutely.
And to share the microphone with you fantastic gentlemen. Shaq came ready. Did y'all feel that? Like he was just like, Shaq came ready. And I'd love to comment on John Hudson's radio voice. I didn't know he was good, but I'm telling you, the new voice of Wittenberg University. Anyway, so like listen, when we think about like the way that we had, at the age that we were, the choices that we were making, to choose to go away from home, at least in my instance, your instance, to a place that we didn't know, a place that was unfamiliar. But I think a common thing that we heard all the time was when you got here, the place felt different. And most specifically, it was beautiful. It got your attention. And then how they treated you was like, wait a minute, there's something here that was differentiated from all the other visits and the letters and the conversations that I was going to have. Now, for me, it was 45 minutes away from home. So I didn't have to be home, but I could get home to do laundry. Like, that was always the thing, right? What was the thing I needed to get home for, but I didn't want to have to get home? And this provided some of that. And we'll talk more later in the conversation about just some of the totality of things that I was able to engage in while I was here, which really did enhance my experience. And I know, Brad, you have somebody in the audience, but I got somebody in the audience too.
Yeah, talk about who you have out there.
His name, he hails from Columbus. No, his name is Christian Thompson. He is our oldest son. My wife is a graduate of Wittenberg as well. Her name is Melanie. Love you, baby. 25.
Shout out to Melanie.
But Christian is here as well. So
That's great.
Grateful to be here.
Okay, Bradman.
Yeah.
Talk about why you chose. Why'd you choose Witt?
No, that's a great question, and I will start off with thanking you, Timmy, and Hud. I appreciate the opportunity to
Thanks
sit
for
up
being
here
here.
with Chris and Shaq, and shout out to Q and Jack behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah.
Give some love. to
Zora,
the guys.
yeah.
Zora, everybody behind the scenes there. But why Witt for me? I didn't have the opportunity to take a full ride to Ohio State, if I'm being transparent. But I'm a Michigan fan anyway, so. But I did have the opportunity to visit multiple schools around Ohio and other states. Again, playing football, looking for an opportunity. And really, I chose Witt. You said it great, Chris. Like, just when you come to the campus and you just see it, it just draws you in, right? As I mentioned, my daughter is out here in the audience. Her first visit, we didn't force her to come here. My wife and I are both alum. It just draws you in. What changed for me, though, is when you start talking to the professors, right? And it's more than just what they teach you in class. That's extremely important, the hard skills, right? Business. Chris, help me out.
Speech in English.
Speech in English. I should have known that, right? I should have known it was English. I apologize. They're teaching you the hard skills, but they're also teaching you how to critically think,
Yes.
and that's going to help you later in life.
Yes.
Because not every answer is put in front of you.
Right. Can you
Personally, professionally.
Can you speak about? You mentioned before when we spoke, there was a professor that kind of changed your life, and then there was. Can you talk about that? Because in this, and Shaq, you brought
have a
up.
better story.
No, but your story. No, your story's great too. But all three of you separately brought up about how specific professors
That's right.
really changed like your past at Wittenberg.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody can jump in and because you had a good story.
I have story after story. Unfortunately, my memory slips me on some of the names. But it's professors that took the time to get to know you, to answer your questions. That the reason I came to Witt was the student-faculty ratio. I wanted them to know my name. I didn't want to sit in a room of 500 students, 600 students. And that's what I found here, were professors that got to know you. And I had multiple, from Common Learning professor, who's going to expand your thought, expand your horizons and beliefs and push you a little bit. That's what we need. And that's what we took as freshmen, right? And I remember my senior year, and I wish I could remember his name, but he was fantastic. And he really just wrapped us up. It was a group of like 12 of us in the class, a small group. And I remember his face, and I wish I could remember his name. But that solidified that decision. And I know it was right as I was going out, but I'm like, this made it worth it. Sitting in a class of 12 people when the professor cares for me. That's what made the difference, and that's why my daughter sits here, and maybe some other children will come here. We'll see. We don't know. But yeah, so that's my story. It's just the personal touch that the professors gave us that I'm not sure I would have received anywhere else.
And I think for me, we have to be clear that it was a different era for institutions. And so, turning down a full ride at Ohio State back then was different than it is now, but it was the right choice for me. Fortunately, I had a chance to get back to Ohio State as a graduate student, right? But I didn't know that grad school was an option. I thought 4 years and I'm done, right? My parents both went to college, but they didn't graduate from college, so I'm a first-generation college graduate, and so are my siblings, but it was just like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure this out, right? But then there were people who helped me to figure it out, right? And not to be cheesy, Hud, but Chris Thompson is one of those people that helped me figure it out. He helped me come and have a visit to Wittenberg, an outstanding visit. I remember calling home and saying, hey, can I stay an extra day? Because I'd come down on a Greyhound bus, y'all. It was a different era.
A Greyhound bus.
So I got the trip extended, stayed for an extra day. I was hosted by two of my guys in Woodlawn Hall, Jimmy McMahon, and
shout out to Jimmy.
And Vern
he said it was with Jimmy earlier today. He said hello.
Absolutely, Jimmy, that's my guy. But so those were the folks who helped get me together. But Chris really put me on. I had an opportunity. I had to have a work-study job to help pay for school. The opportunity was work in the cafeteria or to figure something else out. I told Chris, I said, I don't want to work in the cafeteria because I just did that at a job before. And he was like, well, you can come work with me in the admissions office. And then the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah.
But not quite a straight line, right? I had folks like Dr. Kathy Wagner in my speech course, and I was in there with Rodney Hopkins, and Jermaine was in that class with us too, and it was just like we were forced to figure it out, forced to show up for class, learn how to get our points across, learn how to speak, and now I actually get paid to speak.
But what do you mean by forced? Like,
I'm sorry.
Like,
the standard of the class was to be excellent.
so you were held to a level standard.
Absolutely.
That was high.
Absolutely. And Dr. Wagner challenged us. She didn't let us sit in the back of the class and goof off. We could goof off a little bit, but the bottom line was we needed to be ready to present. We needed to be ready on our quizzes. I remember one in our group got a 0 on that quiz, and we clowned. We clowned him. I'm not going to expose him, but we clowned him and recognized that, hey, this is a serious class, and we need to take it seriously. But you know, Dr. Wagner held us to that standard. All of our faculty held us to that standard, and it wasn't like, you know, threats or anything. It was like, I don't want to screw up. You know, I want to get it done, and I want to get the most out of this opportunity. So, super grateful for all those folks. And you know, I don't often get the chance to give Chris his flowers, but when I have a chance to tell my origin story, Chris is always included in that because of the opportunity that he gave me. And so I ended up working in missions for 4 years as an undergraduate student. My senior year, I was an intern, so I was recruiting students from all over the country. The same CBS weekend that Chris hosted for me when I was a prospective student, I was able to host that for other prospective students as a senior and then as a professional. So appreciate
So
the
you
opportunity
did
to get
for
here.
others what Chris did for you.
Having light, you pass it on to others, right? And the reality is I was fortunate. I came back and gave the opening convocation here a few years ago, and my topic was light upon light. And so that's actually a verse. It's a verse in the Holy Quran, and it's Nur ala Nur, light upon light, just talking about how the light expands, and it's just it takes a special fuel to help that light expand, and we have to understand that as a candle, my light is not diminished by passing it on to you.
That's right.
By sharing the stage with my brother.
But that's what we're scared about,
Absolutely.
right?
I'm not. I learned.
But I'm just saying,
you learn here that you don't have to worry about
right?
that.
In general, there is a we that is constantly scared that if we give our light away, that we don't get to retain any for ourselves. And what you just said is it actually grows brighter when we give it away.
But that's the whole point. But that's the whole point. Let me pick up on this, because the idea, though, is that all of us are light.
Yeah.
It's not that we have light, it's that we are light. And wherever we go, we shine. Some places we go are brighter, we're brighter than others. When we came to Witt, it activated something in us that the voltage we were before we got here may have been a 9 volt. When I left, I'm 26, 27, and now I'm higher than that, right? Everywhere I go, whatever is inside of me, when I give myself the opportunity to be lit up by where I am through experiences, I get agitated by life all the time, but that agitation creates something inside of me that now allows my light to shine brighter. And what I think we learned here is that the challenges, the obstacles, the situations we were put in front of, that taught us how to use our light.
Absolutely.
Why do you care to do this? You brought people in,
Yeah.
and you've got people on the stage that, right? And these aren't the only people that have been impacted by you.
Yeah.
Why do you care to do this?
Theodore Roosevelt has a quote that says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I care deeply. I've cared deeply for much of my life. So your origin story was Christopher Thompson. Mine was Keon Gregory. And Keon Gregory was in admission, and just like I was taken in by Keon, I learned how to care for others because of how he cared for me. I learned how to care for others through Dr. Linda Bennett, my poli-sci professor, who in my freshman year, Common Learning was my professor, and we read the autobiography of Malcolm X back then, and I can say it this way, like after I read that, I went home like just like, listen, do you know who you are? And so, like, and it transformed how I experienced the world. But one of the things that she did with me is that I always had an undiagnosed learning disability, which impacted how I tested. So, quick story, Dr. Bennett was in her poli-sci class. This was not Common Learning, this was another poli-sci class I took with her because she was such an amazing person. And went in before the exam because I was struggling in the class, and knew the answers cold. Christopher this, yep, got it down. She was like, you're ready to go. Took the exam, got a D. Brought me in, she was like, what is going on? She said, answer this. I answered it. She answered that shit. She said, okay, you've got something that's going on inside of you that we have to now work with. So it was no longer at that time for me about the grade I was getting. It was that there was something happening in me that I didn't understand. She helped me understand it. And by the way, I graduated, right? That was my freshman year. So my grades weren't great, right? It could have been that I could have left the school because grades was what you needed to get. But Sharon Dietz and others took their arms around me and said, there's something in this guy we don't know yet. His grades aren't great, but he needs to be here. And because they cared for me, it taught me how to care for others. And so when I saw in my role as an admission counselor, I went out and looked for people, watch this, who had care in them, but it just hadn't come out yet because they hadn't yet ignited the light inside of them that would then allow them to do what they do, which is why it was easy to see what was in this guy. We just had to spark him. And he got an opportunity. He went, look at him, he's doctor. He's not doing that, right? So I think the reality for all of us that the statement of having light, we pass it on, right? It is not just a statement. It is an acknowledgement that I am light. And when I am light and I shine in the places that I am in, then man, everybody else gets brighter.
I want to come back to how you find care in others, because that's fascinating. But Brad, what happened while you were here that caused you to kind of become who, and I don't want to be, I'm not asking about that, but like something happened while you were here, and we talked about seeds getting planted that you didn't know were being planted, but also the hard skills that you learned. Just take me through a little bit.
Talk about where you were at. Like, I know your daughter's here, but talk about where you were at. What do you mean by that? I kind of wish she wasn't here, but I'm glad she's here because because we talked about this because you said the phrase to me, you weren't quite ready for who you were at the time. You weren't prepared, but people were.
So listen, I can share my story and then. We'll get a little spiritual here, a little bit. Let's go.
This is a Lutheran university.
All right. So my story is, I didn't make the best decisions on campus. If I'm being transparent with the group today, right? I'm not the person that you see sitting here today, which is why our word of the day is grace.
Yes.
Right? Grace for others, hopefully grace for me as well. So I'm stubborn as well. I'm self-aware, and I know that I'm stubborn. You heard me talk about professors pouring into me, showing that they care. You heard Chris talking about showing that he cared for Shaq. So I had the professors pouring into me, and I wasn't, the seeds weren't growing, but they were planting the seeds, right? They had to be watered later by others. Then I found friendships that I never thought I would have. A friendship with somebody that knocked us out of the playoffs in high school, right? Right, yeah. Just throwing that out there for Shaq. I think he knocked us out personally by the last tackle, but we won't go there. But the headline. That's what the headline says. But learning from others, right? Learning from others from different backgrounds and watching them pour into me, right? To see me as who I was and who I would become before I was ready to see who I was and who I would become. And so we fast forward to the discussion you and I just had earlier today, right? So these people are planting seeds, and I don't see any growth yet, but they're pouring into me because of what they saw inside. My senior year, So my wife is an alum. She graduated. in
Shout out to
99.
Lisa.
Yep, Lisa Cook Jordan.
You forgot her.
No. I was just trying to make sure I got it.
Wait till you get home tonight.
So I'm gonna stay here tonight. But no, I saw my wife my freshman year. I stayed in Tower. I looked down and saw her that day.
Come on.
What floor? Oh, 5th floor, 6th floor? No, 30th floor. I saw her from the 30th floor. Tower smaller than All right. And I saw her. Now listen, because I think there's a message here. This is a small school.
Tell the story, bro.
I never saw her again until my senior year last semester.
Come on.
I never saw her. You know who I did see? Her very best friend. Mm-hmm. I saw her very best friend and her best friend's best friend. Right? I never saw her again.
Until.
But listen.
Yeah.
There's something about something not getting into your visibility until you're ready for it. Something not coming to light, and that's what happened. I never saw her, but I saw the friends that she hung out with. And I shared this story, and I don't mind sharing this, so we're going to get a little spiritual. In front of Student Center here, you used to be able to drive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? So my wife is driving in front of the Student Center. Fraternity brother and I are coming up to the stop sign. We stop. Once in my life have I heard a word in my head from God. And it said, you're going to marry her. And I looked over at my buddy, and I was like, what? This is John Shoemate. I'm like, what? And he's like, I didn't say anything. I was like, I'm going to marry her. And I said it out loud. And we've been married for 23 years.
Let's go.
So even though I wasn't ready, even though I couldn't see her, when the time was right, she became visible to me. And that's what I was trying to explain is, continue to pour into people, even when they don't see it in themselves, because it will become visible to them at some point. And here I am 23 years later, our daughter is here,
Yes.
2 other kids.
Can I just say something? I'm gonna lighten it up a little bit because I was joking with Brad, and these are 3 football players. So Chris was like a 4-4 guy. So you should have saw your dad. So him and Shaq always shirts off. You know what I mean? I play basketball, right? These dudes are muscular. We get it. Like they at parties, the shirts are off. And I get it, dude. I get it. You guys are in phenomenal shape. You know.
Go to social media and where's the post of me without my shirt on?
I get it.
There's no proof.
But I just wanted to just point out, can we switch before we have a commercial break? Really quickly, because we want to show the well-rounded view. All 3 came in playing football. I want to acknowledge that the teams that you were part of, Chris Thompson, wide receiver, Shaq played linebacker. Chris and I won 2 flag football championships together.
That's a true story.
That's a very true story. But talk about, all 3 of you, talk about the role that athletics played, the friendships, you got the doghouse, the friendships that were created, and just how that lasts to this day. So if you guys could talk about that.
So I'm going to say this. The test of a man is the fight that he makes, the grit that he daily shows, the way that he stands upon his feet and takes life's numerous bumps and blows. A coward can smile when there's not to fear and nothing is progress bars, but it takes a man to stand and cheer while the other fellow stars. It takes a man to stand and cheer while the other fellow stars. That was my lived experience as a football player. I came in here with a lot of hype, and I started a game my freshman year when Jason Whitehead had to sit out. You know, Jason Whitehead is a legend for
Shout out to Whitehead.
played football here, and Coach Fincham was my coach. Coach Niebuhr was my coach my first year. We're looking at Chuck Martin. He was the linebackers coach, head coach of Miami. They just won the MAC championship. So we were connected with some outstanding folks, Taver Johnson. I mean, there's so many people who were serious about the football thing. I loved football. I played 4 years, but I only started 4 games in 4 years. But we only lost 4 games in 4 years. So it was a great experience. And what I loved was understanding how to be a teammate, right? Understanding that, my role was whatever they needed me to do. And I think for me, those were some of those lessons that you learn, because I'm lifting, I'm running, I'm working out, fastest I ever was. I ran a 4.6 and
Sweating.
all this stuff,
Yeah.
right? This was the experience. But what I learned how to do was play my role and play my position.
But what a kick in the ego. How did you make that transition? Because it wasn't just like one day you woke up and it was like, oh cool, I'm not starting, they're starting, okay, it's all right.
And that's what happened, right? I read it in the paper on a Saturday morning. I wasn't starting. I'm like, wait, what now? Okay, cool. And I actually quit. I quit for about 30 minutes. And then I talked to Coach Fincham, and I was back on the team, but it wasn't the same. It wasn't going to ever be the same.
Yeah.
Right.
Because, I had quit, but then I had a second chance, to come back and continue to work and show my commitment to my teammates, because I didn't just quit because I was mad at the coach. I'm quitting on my teammates, right? It was life lessons coming at me extremely fast as a sophomore in college. But once I understood that this was a part of the journey, I embraced it.
Yeah.
I embraced it.
Yeah, well, I would love to take this whole time to name all the dogs, but I'm not going to do that because we don't have enough time. And for those who don't know who the dogs are, it was a group of us who bonded not just through football, but in life. And we had a house down the street where all the gatherings tended to happen at that house. But to the
Like how you
point,
said gatherings.
thank
by the way.
you.
It's a family program.
I'm responsible in my language when I speak of these things. No, but when I think about, and it really is a bit of a moment, like I'm thinking about them. I'm thinking about one of the dogs we lost last year, Scott. And it is humbling to still be on this earth walking around knowing that when I think about Wittenberg University, we've talked about the professors, we've talked about what a wonderful place this is, but it's the people. And for me, that group of men, my senior year, I was going to quit. I did not want to play. And when I tell you, Taver Johnson, Marvin Mackey, Gabe Pace, Derek Rogers would not let me quit. Dwight Carter would not allow me to quit.
Come on.
And it was because of some really selfish things. And I had talked myself into, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. I don't need football no more. And my senior year was one of my favorite. It wasn't my best statistical year, but it was a year of camaraderie, connection, and a lifelong group of men that even if we don't see each other every day, we are connected for life. And we won. Like, when we came, we won. I started from day one and played every game, except for the 4 games I got hurt.
But what made it your favorite season?
We had fun.
What does fun mean? Like, fun's kind of subjective. Like,
You mean fun as far as enjoying the process, the grind?
No, way to grind. No, the fun. Let me explain.
This is the only episode where we might go over.
So when I describe fun is that we did some stuff together as brothers that I can't talk about on this show. Great. That allowed us to build deeper connections. We lived in a house together. We fought together. We argued together. We cared about each other together. Like it was this I think the truest test of real relationship.
yes.
We didn't have to like each other all the time.
Yes.
We didn't have to appreciate how we got talked to all the time. But I knew. Let me tell y'all a quick story. So now this was sophomore year. We were playing basketball. It was intramural basketball. I was on the court, and a gentleman pushed me. True story. A guy pushed me. Now, I was in a role at the time that had visibility to some administration, that if any of them got in trouble, I could help them. They recognized that. So this man pushed me, and let me tell you, true story. Taver, Gabe,
Oh, God.
Tava took my arm, threw me back to the sideline. They built a wall. Amon Dobbins, y'all know AJ?
Yes.
He came from the bench and bodied dude, knocked him on the ground. And I watched that happen. I'm like, I can fight for myself. And I recognized at that moment I didn't have to. Because I had with me my brothers. And I got that at Witt. So shout out to every one of y'all. If I can't call all y'all's names, they are my brothers for life.
Nice.
So, I got to pause. I'm sorry. When Hud and I were on campus as students, hanging out with friends and teammates was easy. Networking with alumni, however, seemed harder. Unless they came onto campus for homecoming, or I accidentally bumped into them, or showed up for an alumni game, or I made a super big effort to get off campus, it never happened. Eventually, until after I graduated, I didn't even bother. Wondering how you can connect with alumni for conversation, coaching, mentoring, networking advice, or just to connect? Network Witt, powered by People Grove, makes it easy, as their whole goal is to help you navigate life's journey. Figure out your next step, find your next job, share your expertise, become a mentor. Claim your account in less than 2 minutes and instantly connect with your community. To claim your free account and start networking with students, alumni, go to www.wittenberg.peoplegrove.com and claim your free account today. All right, let's get into it.
Nice.
Awesome.
You just get better with time. It's incredible. Okay, so let's, since Chris opened up a little bit of Pandora's box, let's talk about a little bit of fun subject matter. As we always talk about favorite hangout spots. So let's start. Let's see if you're going to name something that a lot of people have named in every episode. What, Mr. Thompson, what were your favorite hangout spots? What was your, dare I say, maybe party house or bar rotation when you were here?
While I was at Wittenberg University, I never went to any bars. I only went to class.
In the library.
In the library. I believe one responsible place that people went was called Station 1.
Yeah, there you go.
I believe in the years, in my latter years here at Wittenberg, it was happening at the doghouse. Let's just be real clear about
Yes.
when we got together, it was at our house. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yes.
Hey, Shaq, what about you?
Listen, I lived in Woodlawn. Woodlawn was the substance-free residence hall, so it was beautiful. I love that. But some of the places that I enjoyed hanging out included what was then known as the Black House, the McLean Center for Diversity.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And there was a location off campus. We called it the Golden Palace.
Did you know?
I'm gonna let,
I was gonna bring that
I'm
up.
gonna let you talk a little bit more about that. I'm just thinking about some of the places that we enjoy.
Why are you dishing it off?
Yeah.
Well, so may I step in here?
You may.
Well, the first place that I frequented as a freshman would be, I believe it was called the Bird.
Bam.
What?
Yes.
That was prior to the last shooting or whatnot.
Yeah,
I think that was the last time, at least the last time I was there. But besides the Bird, it was known as the Golden Palace. What is the address on that?
What is that, Brad?
It was a place where I resided at the Palace my senior year, and that was the spot to be in 1999 was the Golden Palace.
Yeah.
I don't know how it compared to the Doghouse necessarily, but if you know anybody that graduated in 99, just ask about the Palace.
Wait, Brad, can you name how many days of the week you were with shirt off at the Golden Palace?
How many days a week are there? Yep. About that many.
Great.
All the days. About that many.
I'm trying to paint the picture for you.
8 days out of the week.
Yeah.
372 days a year.
On that note, we're going to make a major left turn.
Yeah, let's get this.
Are you going back to spiritual?
So, anyone on campus would look at y'all and say, those guys are successful. How did you navigate to success from all the seeds that were planted here that you didn't even know were planted? And just how, like, and if you all tell me the road was straight and narrow, I'm going to call BS.
Yeah.
Like, how did that happen?
You all mind if I start on this one?
Yeah.
So I want to share this story. I had a U-Haul rented, and I was moving to Arizona upon graduation. And I met my wife 2 months before graduation. So I was without a job and really wasn't sure what I was going to do with myself. But I knew I wasn't leaving Ohio.
Yeah.
So when you say it was straight, it was never straight and narrow. From upon graduation, I didn't know what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And I worked for a company. It's a great company. But here I am with a business degree, and I was moving furniture for 2 men in a truck right out of school because life changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But what I found is, and I would give all the credit to my wife on this, because she was watering those seeds that had been planted. And I began to grow and figure out who I was as a person. And she had the grace to let me grow and develop into who I was supposed to be. And so the seeds that had been planted earlier grew, but here was what was important to me. It was the counsel I had around me, the local friends, and then even most recently over the last several years, Shaq and I connect on a weekly basis. There's another fraternity brother, we connect on a weekly basis. It's those accountabilities partners, those people that have already been where you want to go, or are pushing in the same direction. So I can't speak enough about the relationships I built here, the networking, the counsel, the accountability that you have from people that I still talk to this day, 23 years ago. I think that drove me to the success, because when you surround yourself with success and excellence, you want that.
That's good.
And then you can pour into others that excellence as well.
So you're saying that you have people in your life where you say, this is where I want to be, this is where I want to go, and then they check in on your progress?
100%. Every Monday
And
morning.
they let you off the hook?
No. If you don't, every Monday morning we get together, and if you didn't do what you're going to do, well, first of all, they generally are going to say, I fell short, I was doing this or doing that. But we're not letting anybody off the hook because we're there for each other. Yeah. And I think you heard that. I think you heard that someone poured into Chris, and Chris poured into Shaq, right? And they're still doing that today. And I mentioned it the other day. When I needed some help in my professional life in a specific area, I contacted Chris, and he was there for me. He showed up, met me in person. So it's that network, that closeness, that understanding that we're better together.
Yes.
We are better together.
Yes.
That path to success is certainly not straight. I'm thinking back to '99 when we graduated. I moved to Atlanta without a job, right? I moved to Atlanta because I was chasing the woman who would eventually become my wife. Shout out to Alita. And we didn't get married until later, but I mean, that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to figure it out, right? But the next level of my success came from one of my fraternity brothers. We're talking about him. Shout out to Brian May. We were roommates in Columbus, sitting on the couch watching Sports Center, and he said, "Man, this ain't it. We got to do something. Let's go to. I'm going to grad school." I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna go to grad school." He went and got his MBA, and I went and got my master's from Ohio State. But I mean, it was eating Chipotle, Sports Center, and he said, there's more for us, right?
Yeah.
And so he's still telling me to this day that there's more for me, and he's helping me to grow and point me in these directions. And a lot of times you just need to hear from somebody you trust and somebody who knows you
That there's
better than you know yourself, right? That there's more, and that there's things to do, and that comes from building deep relationships here at a place like Wittenberg, right? It's the deep relationships that change everything. These are my fraternity brothers, members of Alpha Phi Alpha, right? Who brought it together and helped me to be a better version of who I was becoming, right? And I couldn't do it by myself, and I would be remiss and extremely arrogant to try to ever say that I did it by myself.
Good,
this is why when we're telling these stories, we're not telling stories about us, we're telling stories about other people, right?
That's right.
Well, if you listen to every story we told, it was about somebody else who made a difference in our lives.
But you have achieved a ton. Aren't you at the pinnacle?
I'm still here.
We still going.
I'm still here, right? Yeah, so I'm grateful every day. And the reason and the way that I show my gratitude is by doing more, right? If you're thankful, you'll get more, right? So I try to be thankful all the time. And so now you're going to make me preach. So my name is Shakeer, right? And Shakeer is Arabic for one who is grateful, right? And so Shakeer Abdullah. Abdullah means servant of God. So I am a grateful servant of God. This is who my parents named me to be, and I have to show this gratitude in every single thing that I do. Business, life, friendships, everywhere I show up. Thankful for the opportunity to come and talk with you all and talk with everybody in the audience. Thankful to you, Timmy. Thankful to you, Hud. Man, I mean, I'm thankful for my guys for being up here supporting me. If I had to talk for a whole hour, I could have done it. It is so much easier with my guys to the right and the left of me, and I am grateful for that, and I have to demonstrate this gratitude in every single thing that I do. And so as I try to grow my business, as I try to expand my clientele and expand my network and help people with their diversity, equity, and inclusion goals and their personal goals in terms of leadership development, I have to show my gratitude by doing that, because people poured into me and helped me to be in a position to keep going, right? Because the thing I'm going to say, and y'all joking, you know, doctor. Yeah, I'm a doctor, but I know a lot about one little tiny thing, right? And anybody who knows anything knows that they don't know anything. That's right. So that's how I approach it.
So this is the first time I think I've ever heard it described in the way that you just made it, which is gratitude is the doing of the work. Because the way I understood gratitude all these years, because it's become the popular thing to talk about and say and all that, is a very passive, laid back, like, oh, let me just be grateful and say it in my mind and say it out loud to other people. And what you're making a different connection, which is the gratitude is by doing the work of whatever it is you're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely. And again, I'm going spiritual, but in the Islamic tradition, you know, the wife of the Prophet Muhammad asked him, why are you doing all this, making all these prayers? You've been promised paradise. And he said, should I not be thankful for that? And so I'm going to keep praying, because I'm grateful for all the things that were promised to me. And so the gratitude is the doing, the continuous doing, the returning back to doing, because...
And the prayer is the doing, right? The doing is the prayer, is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying, and you have to keep
Timmy said amen. Timmy said amen.
Chris, I want you to kind of take it home on this subject. So I know Brad and I were talking.
We got to open it up to the audience.
No, but I know what Brad and I were talking, and I know Shaq, we didn't really have a chance to talk about it, but how coming to college, like some of us, I grew up in the church, but you come to college, you kind of thrown in into kind of the Sodom and Gomorrah. So everything you want, let's be honest. I'm feeling honest. No, but you know what I'm saying? So everything you want is in front of you, right? All these temptations. So the one thing about Chris, he's always come across to me as a very godly person in like flesh and spirit. If anyone ever said anything negative about Chris, that means they are not a good human being. So I'm being 100% serious. So talk about the role. This is a university that is, Lutheran in nature. Talk about the role that religion and God has led you, through troubled times. You mentioned that at one point you were in between jobs, and you're like, I was going to open up a hip-hop studio, dance studio. I love to see some pictures of you in those tights.
Never any tights.
Yeah, but honestly, talk about, because you've always, that's been one thing, whether it was Bible verses, you praying with people, those are memories that, that are in my head. Talk about that.
It's who I am. Hardcore. Shaq speaks not just eloquently, but very personally about who he is, what he represents. And when someone hears Shaq talk about that, there's an authenticity that comes with it. When you deal with me, there's an authenticity that comes with me, because I am a Christian. I'm a Bible-believing, God-fearing Christian. And growing up, deposited within me, there is, in Psalms 119, verse 11, it says, hide God's word in your heart so that you won't sin against him. But if you add text to it in Jeremiah, he says, I, the Lord, search the heart and test the mind to see if there's any right way. And I've started to grow to understand that when he's searching the heart, what's he looking for? He's looking for himself. He's looking for his word. So when he finds his word hidden in your heart, now you have some revelation that happens in your heart, but it can't stop there. So what has to happen? You must be tested. So in James chapter 1, it says, consider it all joy when various trials come, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. You said something really important. Grateful is in the doing. I would say that the doing is the test. The opportunity to be tested is what gives you the chance to be grateful. So if I'm never tested, I can never be grateful. And what I learned at Wittenberg University is test upon test upon test. Test spiritually, test naturally, test mentally, test psychologically, test educationally. All of my life, every day I woke up, there was an opportunity for me to experience a certain level of joy because I was being tested, so I could ultimately get to a place where I could look at my life and be grateful. I'm grateful today because the opportunities presented at this place, they tested me. One of the greatest tests was I was working at the university. My wife was a student at the university. We're married 25 years later, 3 amazing kids later. And the test for me was I couldn't work here and date her. So in my exit interview, for anybody listening, the question that was asked of me, Christopher, why would you leave an amazing job? You chose to work at this university because of your passion, your love, and all of the people's lives you have the opportunity to impact. And I looked at that HR professional with a smile on my face and I said, I can go find another job. I may never find another Melanie. And I haven't.
Yeah, and I remember driving with you to Shippensburg.
Yes, you do.
Me, you, AJ. That was great, and I'm glad that you told that story.
Yes.
I know we got to open it up to Q&A, and we could go on, and we want to thank. We're not done. We're not done. The party's not over, as Teddy Riley would say.
I said I would come back to it. Can you tell me how you find care in others, please, and then we'll turn it over to the audience.
I find care in others when I look them in their eye and they can talk back to me. I create an assumption in myself that you have something in you that I need. I have something in me that you need. And because we're in the same space and I'm present with you, I need to care about whatever it is that you're presenting to me because I might just be the thing that ignites your light. So I assume, right, and they say, you know, what assumption does, but I love this assumption. I assume that no matter, everybody's going through something, right? But so no matter who's in front of me, at that moment, if I can care for you, it might be the experience we're having, the differentiator that causes you from being sad to not being as sad. You notice I didn't say being happy. I said not being as sad. And then to what you were saying earlier, Brad, was that the seeds that are in there, she watered those seeds, and now you are who you are, right? Each of us, so the text in Acts would say that some plant, some water, but God gets the increase. And so in every exchange that I have, I can see care in you because I recognize that there's God in you. And maybe I'm the person that's facing you right now that's going to bring the God out of you. And when the God is out of you, now you get to go care for the next person.
But just as the care is in you, you see it in others.
I have to. No matter who you are, even if you have been an enemy to me, I have to see the care in you because you're not mad at me because I didn't do it. Displaced aggression, Dr. Bhattacharya, Sociology 101. Displaced aggression, it's somebody pushing something off on you because they can't push it to where they want to or where they need to. So maybe if I extend, thank you, Sesame Street, our word grace, right? If I'm extending grace to you, maybe in that moment you can find relief at what you need because you're encountering me. How's that? Whew.
I have no words. That's as amazing as you normally are, and you too normally are. again, moved. I knew we'd get to this point. Thank you three for taking time.
We got audience.
We do.
Got
Q&A. Anybody got any questions out there?
We've got a hand.
Alloy.
Last time I met you, you said something that stuck with me to this day. You said passion produces Hispanic, and that's been like one of my favorite.
Say it again.
You said passion produces Hispanic, and it's like it stuck with me since that day. And it's like actually on the sticky note.
Shut up.
So just repeat it back so everybody.
So he said, thank you for that. He said, I shared with him, passion produces panic. So there is a phrase that I have coined, especially in the work that we do relative to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it occurred to me that many people are struggling to find their place in DE&I. Or the practitioners were becoming exhausted with the work.
Yeah.
And so what I would share with them is that your passion can't lead this work, because when you bring your passion, you produce panic for anybody else who shows up, because they can't meet you at your passion.
Yeah.
So the moment you decide that I am here for a purpose, and when I'm here for a purpose and then I bring my passion to that purpose, all the other P's fill in. Productivity if you are in a business, partnership if you're in a relationship, pathways to new things. You fill in the word P when you are purposeful and you bring your passion to your purpose, you produce whatever it is that you need. But if you're showing up with just your passion, oftentimes you create panic for others. I appreciate you, man.
Does that answer your question, though? Did you have a question? Okay.
I just wanted to like give thanks to that.
That's awesome. Bless you, man. Bless you, bro. That was cool.
Any other? Yeah, go. Q.
For the Q. The key for the Q.
How did you balance being party animals and still taking care of your studies?
You're making an assumption that they're party animals.
So how did you balance party animalness with taking care of your studies?
So there was a saying, we party hard, we stay up late, but most of all, we graduate. That's what we said as alphas, and I don't think that's trademarked.
I don't think so.
That was really the story, right? I mean, we were here to be students. We did enough, right? Shoemate and I, Brad, we
No, you and your mate.
all in the same management class. And we had a skate thing, just skate, because we had a day when we didn't get called on. We were fortunate. But the reality is that we did enough. We studied together. We helped each other on the things we didn't know. We got those projects done when they were due, right? We understood the assignments, right? We understood the assignments, and that's life, though. The middle path, the balance, right? We were probably we survived because of the middle path, right? If we would have just been extreme, we would have been like some of the folks that came in with us and didn't come back. If we would have been the other extreme, we would have been like some of the folks who graduated and we don't know who they were because social spaces, right? But that middle path allowed us to touch the entire campus. And because we weren't only partying and going to class, we were also campus leaders.
Yes.
We were connected with jobs on campus and in the community. We had a community service requirement, so we were getting out there. I remember I had to learn how to play chess and then teach kids how to play chess, right? I mean, that was my community service deal. And it was like, it was never this or that. It was all of the above, and that middle path is what allowed us to, do more, go on and get master's degrees and PhDs and stuff like that. And so, that's what I would say.
And I guess I would add to that. If there's a student here that feels like, man, I've just messed up, or I'm not on the right path, I would say there's hope, right? Don't let
It's good, bro.
Don't let what you have done define who you are.
Yes.
Understand what you did, learn from it, and move forward, right? Because if I look back and I would dwell on things that may or may not have happened in those 4 years, I'm not ashamed of, I'm ashamed of some of it, right? but I won't let it define me anymore, right? So I would still say, if you're here and you're like, I'm just not sure if I'm getting it, there's hope for you. Don't let it define you. Life is short, but yeah, life is really long, if that makes sense to you. Life is short, and you learn it when you have kids. Life is short, but life is long. Don't let those few things that you did wrong define you. There's more to you.
And on that note, thank you all very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Holy cow. This is
Yes. The last one of the year went out with a bang. Last episode of the year until January. So we'll have some refreshments outside, some coffee and some candy. And the quote, "Coming to America, I feel like breakdancing."
It's not going to be you or I.
Love me some gray hair, boy. I do.
Thanks, y'all.
I do.
Good.
Thank you. Awesome.
All right.